Right guys, I've got myself a cup of coffee and I'm going to do a little video about the process of buying a house down here in Costa Rica. It might help you guys when you're thinking about it, the complications and all the process, because we've just learned it this last week and we're on our step through it. So hopefully as we go through these steps together, we can then go through the joys and the pitfalls of the situation. So the first really important thing is find out where you want to live in Costa Rica. And to do that, I suggest coming down here for a month, 2 months. We've been down here for 5 months and experience all the towns that you might like. So you might like a beach town, you might want to live in the rainforest. So go and stay in these places, check them out, maybe stay in some Airbnbs, get an idea of the area. I highly suggest staying in an Airbnb if you can, next to the area that you want to live, because there's a lot of things over here that are different. Noises, for example, dogs, animals, schools. Anyway, so once you've found your area, then you've got to look for your house, obviously. To do that over here is very much like any other country. You go to your local real estate agent. Also, Facebook is a good point of call, and obviously the real estate agent windows, websites, and ask around in the town as well. You might find somebody that knows a property for sale. Once you've done that, you want to hook yourself up with a good attorney. That's going to be tricky. That's always a scary thing. Attorneys abroad, because who do you trust? So what I recommend is, again, speaking to other families in the area that have just recently bought a house and their experiences with attorneys, do some Googling, and then go to the real estate agents and get a general consensus. Don't just ask one, ask 4 or 5 attorneys and see what names keep cropping up. There is going to be a gamble there, really. I've heard horror stories, but I've heard lots of good stories. We've chose our attorney. Let's see how we got on, and I'll tell you about that on the way. After that, you need to make an offer. Now, for a long time there in the UK, houses have been selling for over the asking price. But in estate agent windows in the UK, you will see signs that says offers over, fixed price, offers in region of. They don't do that over here, they just have a price. What I got a general consensus of is around here, the offers are between 10 and 20% less than the asking price. Some go above, and I think that's because some people are in that habit of just offering more. So I recommend you don't do that. I'm a big lowballer, so I always recommend lowballing. They can only say no, and you can move back up a way. The property we found was advertised for $350,000. It was then reduced to $250,000. The lady that owns it lives in America. The house is sitting empty, and it's been empty for about a year. It's had a few viewings, but currently it doesn't look in a very good way to buy. Anyway, we lowballed them, so it was on for $250, we offered $200. So that gives you an idea of how far down we went. They came back at $235, and eventually we've signed a deal at $215, which I think is a great deal for the property. So just bear that in mind. I always recommend, there's no harm in going down low, you can always come back up again. If you put a higher offer in, well, you can't go anywhere else. So anyway, once your offer's done, then you have to make a letter of intent, they call it over here, which is a letter basically through your attorney that says, we intend to buy your property for X amount of money, and then they agree that. Once you both agreed that, you then have to do what they call a SPA. It's a document that tells you everything about the property, gives you the title deeds, and lets you know exactly what you're buying and for how much, and all the other costs as well. Other costs include your attorney fee, your sales tax, your inspection, home inspection, which checks all the boundary lines and the property, and that's all included. And we've agreed in our sale, which is quite common over here, for the seller and buyer to pay 50% each. The selling costs are normally between 8 and 10% of the value of the house. So that gives you an idea, and you pay half of that. The deposit over here as well is something you don't do in the UK. When you've agreed your sales price, your purchase price, and you've signed your SPA, you then have to submit a deposit. 10% is the usual over here. We renegotiated to 5%. I just don't want to have that much money sitting in somebody else's account, and they agreed to 5%. So again, you can negotiate a deposit as well if you want to, but a deposit is needed in this country. Once you've done the deposit, then it goes through to the 30 days due diligence. This I thought was a set time scale. However, we just spoke to our sales agent and it isn't. You don't have to do the 30 days. This is a time period where you can then do anything you want. You can have the boundaries checked, you can have the property checked over, you can maybe look around the property every now and then just to make sure you're happy with it. Anyway, I thought this 30 days was a set thing. It isn't, it doesn't need to be done. As long as we've had our report done to say the boundaries all meet up with the deeds, then we can then move forward. So hopefully we're going to move forward a lot quicker than the 30-day period. After that, you then have 7 days for completion, to get all the documents together, to sign them over, and for you to transfer the money into the seller's account. There is the next thing, transferring money into a different country. You have to use an escrow account, and you have to transfer money from UK over here. And that's where I think it's going to be the hard bit for us. When we get to that stage, we'll talk more about that. I've already spoke to my bank and preempted the fact that I'm going to be transferring a sum of money over here. But we do have limits on our accounts. We use a bank called Monzo, and Monzo seems to have a lot of limits for daily transfers. So that might be an issue. Luckily for us, we have, excuse me, we have property in the UK we sold. So therefore we have a legal document to say where the money came from. We're obviously very concerned about money laundering here, and they need to check that the money is obviously legit. Once the money's over, then that shouldn't be a problem. But all these steps I've just talked about, we're going to go through them with videos individually. We've already done the looking for the house, we've stayed in the country, we've made the offer, and this morning we actually signed the SPA agreement. We're happy with everything in the SPA agreement, and then the next stage is either today or tomorrow, we're going to go along to a property, check the boundary lines, and if we're happy with that, then we'll agree to that, and then we can move forward. And we're hoping to be a lot quicker. So the next video, I'm going to give you a little tour around the property, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do with the property, and hopefully it will go ahead. The only hiccup I can see is the money getting transferred into this country, but we'll find ways around that as time goes on. So if you want to see what it's like and you want to follow me, I'd really appreciate it. Give me a follow, hit the follow button, and see what it's like buying a property and living the dream in Costa Rica. Thanks, guys.